Ooh, welcome back to Life of the Germ. I'm your host, Jeremy. And we got the album of the week. Classic. Good Kid, Mad City, baby. We got NHL Team of the Week as well. Alright, and we're live. Welcome back to Life of the Germ. It's been probably about a month since I hopped on to record an episode, so it feels a little bit rusty, I'm not gonna lie. My camera was dead when I came on here, so I charged it for like 15 minutes, so hopefully the battery has enough to jam out, but yeah, I think I wanted to just give a rundown on maybe a few things that have been going on in my life, and just give a couple updates because I haven't really been on here in a minute. I think one thing that I've been sort of thinking about is this idea of kind of living just an average day. Because I think part of me has been trying to find like kind of my sort of quote unquote niche in, the sphere of like podcasting, but now sort of like transitioning into YouTube and trying to find like where do I fit in all that, and it's definitely, I'm in the space of like kind of, I feel like more like kind of like philosophical talks, but also just like being like straight up and honest. But I think like one thing that's sort of inspired me lately, and it's a kind of weird, but I've sort of been inspired by like just your like typical day. I think it's something that really gets overlooked by a lot of people, and I know it sounds kind of corny, but I feel like there is a lot of beauty in those kind of days. Like, in terms of like almost after college, like the majority of your life is these days, right? Or are these days. I got to work on my English a little bit. And to me, I think it's part of me is like trying to cope with that reality. I think in college it's like there's always this next thing, right, that keeps you going, and then you get to this point where this is the longest I've been in the workforce for my entire life, so it's sort of like, okay, what's the next thing? Oh, there's no more like grades, right? Like I'm in grad school, but it's anyone that has been in grad school knows like it's very much so like a job. Like it's a special kind of job, but it's definitely, I mean, I treat it like, 9 to 5s. A lot of days it ends up being more than that. I'm honestly kind of in this lull right now where it's I feel like I have a couple nights to myself, and I'm like, what am I doing with this time? Like I'm like sitting here watching football tonight, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like I just have all this free time all of a sudden. And it's kind of like antsy. I'm like, what do I do with it? What do I do? And it's like, no, like I feel like I almost feel guilty for it. And it's like, no, I'm not gonna feel guilty for this. I'm gonna like enjoy my time. And um, here I am finding myself on the camera, which I think it's just subconscious. Like I got to be doing something, which definitely isn't true. But I haven't been on Life of the Germ in a while, so I wanted to kind of get back into it, and I thought it would be kind of a good little segue here because I have in the title like the intro, right? So kind of based off this typical thing, like really just embracing the norm, embracing these typical days where you just kind of you're in this routine. I think often like routines and like Monday through Friday for a lot of people are kind of seen as like a drag, like, oh, I go to work, oh, it sucks. And that's kind of how I've been treating it. But in reality, like, no matter if you love your job or you hate your job, like, there's something to be said for, waking up, doing the same thing every day, heading into work, getting back, cooking up some dinner, and just hanging out, And fortunately or unfortunately, that's a majority of people's lives, like, yeah, working lives at least. And um, I don't think there's a lot of love for it. I think people see it as boring, but it's honestly something that literally everyone in this world can relate to some extent, right? Where we all have our different crafts, and we all have some sort of routine set for ourselves that allows us to get up and function in an effective way the next day, right? So all this to say, I see this kind of like an intro for um, a future Flex Docs that's coming out, and it's just gonna be called Typical, and I'm just gonna sort of give you like my documentary on sort of some of the things that I do throughout my day, right? And how that's gonna look yet, I'm not quite sure, but I had this like breakthrough the other day, and I thought I think it'd be a good like change of pace. And I think speaking of that, it is like I am sensing some sort of transition, I guess you could say, in a way. I think we're approaching our 100 episode milestone. I think probably after 3 years of podcasting, I think we're gonna hit it, and I'm like super super pumped for that. I'm gonna we're at I think I just had my 87th guest on for the pod. And as it's winding down, it's like I don't think I'm gonna take a I don't think I'm gonna stop completely podcasting, but I do think I am gonna take a break and sort of evaluate, what's motivating me going forward with this. And I definitely I think getting guests can sometimes be difficult. There's a lot of coordination that goes into it, and it's got me thinking a lot more. Like, um, I recently joined this other podcast through this organization on my campus called Project Bridge, and where we're doing a very similar thing, right? Except instead of like just anyone, it's mostly just like scientists, professors, grad students, which is essentially what I'm doing now, right? So it's like to some extent, I feel like it's kind of overlapping in a lot of ways, and it's like especially as this milestone is getting drawing near. I think it definitely begs the question of like I could essentially, and you guys, if you still wanted the podcast, like you would essentially still be getting me doing a very similar thing, but like just on another Spotify podcast, right? And I honestly, I sense my craft sort of maybe even shifting towards something like more of these documentary type vibes. And you guys will see the style of them once I put it out. I'm gonna have one put out soon. It honestly might be winter by the time I put it out, but I want it to be about my favorite season, fall, and it's just gonna be like it's not gonna be like a 10-minute thing where I'm narrating over. I really just think it's gonna be like a sort of just no narration, just like, and I don't know if I'm gonna like bring a microphone out and like capture some of this, but just kind of like audio of just like the surroundings that I had when I filmed it, and just like scenes of fall that I thought were really cool. And it's gonna be like very simple, but I think it's gonna be really interesting, and I'm really excited for it, and it allows me to kind of I think use my creativity in a slightly different way than I have before, which I'm looking forward to. Um, but yeah, all that being said, I think once I hit 100 episodes, I mean that has been the goal since February of 2022, right? And I think I'm gonna have another merch drop. And literally everyone that I know that has listened to these episodes, like I will be hitting them up and like asking them if they want to get some merch, um, just to celebrate. I'll definitely take suggestions, but I think I'm thinking I'm gonna probably do some. It depends. I might put out a survey and see what people like, but I'm thinking like definitely a black sweatshirt for sure. And if people don't like the sweatshirt vibe, I could also get some t-shirts. And then there's definitely been some talk about like getting some just like some like a baseball hat or something like that. And be very simplistic, just the balloon on the front and then like I think I'd really like and maybe not, I don't know. It doesn't necessarily have to be the balloon. Well, it'd be the balloon on the front, and then maybe what I'm thinking about is like the little hole in the back. If I like rainbowed flying intuition and like cursive on the back, just like something really like clean, nothing too crazy. Like, I gotta say, I kind of go for the more like subtle vibe, nothing too fancy. It'll honestly probably be the same graphic design as I did last year because it's literally already made and it's a fire design. Like shout out Morgan for the one time for that. But yeah, it's come a long ways, and I'm gonna do my classic that I started last year, like just a kind of do a life of the germ on just like a reflection of the year and like kind of reflecting and then looking towards 2025 as to like things that I can kind of look forward to, not just in the podcast, but in my life and like where I see myself going, the world going, like just all of it. But yeah, I think that's where things are at. And honestly, it, I wanted to let you guys know that, yeah, like this like this new type of documentary is probably gonna come out. I'm like super excited to share it. I got inspired by like some other creatives on YouTube, and I thought it was super cool. Um, but also to intro kind of what the typical thing kind of is. And I think I was, I don't know when it was, but it was one day last week where, like, this past couple months, I've just been like, not really motivated to go to work, like, just like questioning, like, is this really the job for me? And I think that's a very, like, healthy thing to think about. And I realized, I'm like, wait, is this just the job? Or is this just like, everyone goes through this, no matter what job you have. Like, there's this realization after college where you're like, I'm really gonna have to do this for the next 40 years. Like, it's crazy to think about that, right? And it's no matter what you're doing, no matter if it's the best job of your life, you're gonna have days that suck. If I was doing this full time, I would have days where I'm like, I don't want to get on here and record, Like, now I do it because I love it, and it's like I can do it when I want to, right? But like in terms of like anything, like there's gonna be days that like if you do it consistently, there are days that you don't like it. And I think anyone that loves something enough realizes that. Um, but I really think it's focusing on those sort of the little things in life. And I really do think as I live more that that's what it's all about, not yeah, it's nice to look forward to big trips. I'm going to Madison in a couple days actually. Haven't had off in like probably like 3 months, which sounds crazy to people that work full time, but like for me with college where you have like these days built in, like 3 months for me with no day off, like that was a long stretch. I'm not gonna lie, where I'm like, oh my God, this is crazy. Like, I think I'm definitely the type of dude where I just want, instead of like just burning all my vacation at once, I like honestly just like a random Friday, like once a month, just like Friday, like just one day where I can just chill is just like, because I mean, it's definitely been like a nose to the grindstone type beat, and I mean, it hasn't been average days, right? I've been putting in more hours than more hours than 40. That's for sure. I'll put it that way. So that probably has something to do with it, but also just like, yeah, I think there came this day where I'm like, wait, this doesn't have to be so bad. Like, I think college me is always like, what's next? What's next? And it's like, no, like this is I think it's like coming to terms with the fact that this is gonna be my life for the next. I mean, yeah, the job will change, right, eventually, but this will be my life, like, no matter what. Like, you're gonna have to work for me, like, I mean, at least the next 3 decades, right? So it's like, just I think, and you don't have to like think of it like that, but just understanding that like you're gonna be doing this for a while, so you might as well like enjoy it and like appreciate, waking up, just the little things like stretching, brushing my teeth, like getting a workout in, heading into work, just like chilling at my desk, just like doing these little things that I think a lot of college students would find crazy that I'm saying this, but like really in a way they're 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 like there is some sort of I don't even know, something about it just speaks to me, and then like the fact that knowing that you're not everyone else in society is doing the same thing as you, there's something so, I don't know, just like I can't fully grasp it, but there's something just so like interesting and kind of like it makes you like sit and like marvel at it a little bit, that like wow, people have been doing this for so long, and it happens, but no one really talks about it. Like everyone's like, yeah, it worked. It's like you were just gone for 8 hours. You're gone for 40 hours a week. Like it's just it's a weird thing that maybe I'll be able to like and this is I think why I'm switching to the documentary, because it's hard for me to, some of these things are better to just show you guys instead of just talking over them, right? And I think we'll leave it at that. I think that's an intro for the next. I don't think it'll be the next Flex Stocks, but one to come called Typical. I hope that like someone has you guys looking forward to it. I don't know, like that. It's a very interesting concept. I know I'm looking forward to it. I don't even know how it's fully going to turn out. I haven't really filmed any of the clips. But fall will be coming out soon, probably in the next month or so, and I'm excited to like put that together and see how that turns out. But um, yeah, other than that, I'm gonna keep trying to. I think I'm kind of reaching like a chill point now for the next month or so. So I'm probably gonna try to get back on my consistent grind of like putting up a Life of the Germ like once a week, and like trying to get into that habit again. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and I'll catch you in the next one.